Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Is LSU and Southern Cal as we get ready to start another football season coming up on Sunday night out in Sin City. So let's just get into it. I'm not going to, dance around and try to, bury the lead here. Let's just talk LSU and Southern California. The more I have looked at this game over the course of this week, the more two things have become abundantly clear to me. If you remove all the kind of cliches like red zone efficiency and the all-present and all-important turnover battle and the obvious things, if you get into the red zone and can't score, you're going to be in bad shape. If you turn the ball over 4 times, you're going to be in bad shape. That's the case in every game. But for me, in this game, it looks to me like it's boiling down to two things. How well does USC throw it? How well does LSU run it? That, to me, tells the story. If USC has some trouble through the air, whether that's dealing with LSU's pass rush or not being productive in the passing game with the new quarterback in Miller Moss, they're going to be in some trouble. If LSU cannot establish a running game to help out their quarterback and to choose some clock and to get behind that big offensive line and lean, they're going to be in some trouble. And it's evident that both of those teams really want to rely on those things. Lincoln Riley is built that way. He wants to spread the field. He wants to throw the ball. LSU is attempting to be built this way in 2024 to get behind their pads and run the football. Last year, USC's rushing defense was atrocious. It was absolutely awful. You look at some of the outputs that they gave up, and it was brutal. Arizona ran for 203 on them. Utah ran for 247. Cal ran for 235 yards on them. Washington ran for 316 on these guys. 199 from UCLA. Louisville ran for 220. You get the picture. This was a defense that had no answer for the running game last year. And most of the guys that represented that front are back. They have loaded up with transfers in the secondary. But right now, you look at what they're expected to start on the defensive front, it is Bear Alexander right in the middle. He's supposed to be their nose tackle. He was there last year. He's a former, big-time recruit, went to Georgia. You know the story. Anthony Lucas is on an end. He's in his 3rd year in college, former 5-star recruit. He was part of that monster Texas A&M class that came in and has since dispersed all over the country. And he's going to be up there up front for him. These are the guys that were on the team last year that couldn't stop the run at all. Now, they bring in Danton Lynn as the defensive coordinator, and he took over a bad UCLA defense and made them significantly better. They were one of the better run defenses in college football last year under his leadership. And so if you're a Southern Cal fan, you look at that and you go, well, we got that guy. He did it at UCLA. UCLA stinks. We're USC. He'll do it here. He's got 5-star recruits to deal with. And maybe that's true and maybe it's not. You're hearing a lot of the same things with LSU and Blake Baker. A lot of the same things with LSU and Bo Davis. But LSU is going to have to dominate at the point of attack and run the ball. And that starts likely with Bear Alexander at the nose dealing with DJ Chester, LSU's new center. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday. If you go to LouisianaSports.net, you can read my piece up on key matchups today. And I put that up this morning. And that's the first one I pointed to, DJ Chester against Bear Alexander. Yes, absolutely. You can help your center with a really strong nose tackle. And Miles Frazier, who's expected to play per Brian Kelly yesterday, and Garrett Dellinger are more than capable of helping out with DJ Chester. But you don't really want to do that. You'd rather have your center, who's big enough, it's 6'6" and 325 pounds, that's a big old center, to handle somebody one-on-one. And Bear Alexander's a big old boy too. He's listed at 6'3", 313. But if Chester can handle that matchup more often than not, and allow LSU's athletic and veteran offensive linemen to get to their combo blocks, to get to the second level, and create some space for their running game, then LSU's in business. This is going to be a transformed offense for LSU in the running game. You cannot operate the way you did last year. We all know that. It was fun. I talked to Will Campbell on Tuesday, and I asked Will Campbell what he thought about some of the struggles they had running the ball last year in some of the bigger games. If you listen to me at all over the last 3 weeks, you've heard me talk about the fact that LSU could not run the football on Florida State, Alabama, or Texas A&M last year. Could not run it. And I asked Will Campbell about that, and he said, well, if we had trouble running the ball, Jaden just busted for 90. I mean, that's a quick quip. I get it, and it was true for most of the time. Ask Florida. But the fact is you don't have that anymore. So you've got to get behind your pads, and you've got to run the football. You've got to be creative in the running game. Can't just be a zone read game where you kind of find a hole here and there. You could do that with Jaden Daniels. You could do that with Clyde Edwards-Helaire and that potent offense in 2019. This offense is not built like that. You've got to run the ball, and I use air quotes here, a little bit more traditionally. You've got to get behind your pads. You've got to use some pulling offensive linemen. You've got to run power. You've got to run counter, split zone. You've got to do all that stuff, and you've got to do it effectively. It is my understanding from having a few conversations that the majority of the workload on Sunday is going to go to Josh Williams to start the game and Caleb Jackson. Those will be LSU's bell cow backs in this game on Sunday. John Emery is certainly available, and obviously Caden Durham is there. I think they would prefer to go with the older guys in this first game. But you're going to see a lot of Josh Williams and a lot of Caleb Jackson. Here is my elementary theory on how I'd like that rotation to go. I'm good with Josh Williams running the ball, especially early in the game. I don't think he's going to bust one for 80 yards at any point. I don't think he's going to bust one for 65 yards at any point. But I do think he's capable of churning up yards, getting you into second and manageable, running the clock, and keeping you on schedule. I want a healthy and fresh Caleb Jackson in the third and fourth quarters. You can run all you want in preseason conditioning. Game shape is different. I want Bear Alexander, Anthony Lucas, and all these defensive linemen with their hands on their knees at some point in the second half because they're sick and tired of Miles Frazier and Garrett Dellinger and Will Campbell and Emory Jones coming at them and at them and at them again. That happened time and time again last year. I just read you all the stats for all those Pac-12 teams that ran it down USC's throat last year. That's got to be the MO for this game for LSU. You cannot sit there and ask Garrett Nussmeier, even though it's his fourth year and even though he's got a lot of talent and even though he's got good wide receivers, you cannot ask him to throw the ball 47 times and try to keep up and score 45 points on this USC defense. That's not fair to ask him to do that at this point. I'm not suggesting he can't do it. You have to avoid that. Own them at the line of scrimmage. Lincoln Riley has not once in his career as a head coach put a defense out there that had a backbone. Not once. I can't imagine that's going to just magically change coming up on Sunday. This has been an offensive line group that has been given flower after flower after flower all spring, all summer, all talking season, all the way up to now. They've got to go earn it on Sunday. Knock them off the line of scrimmage in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, the fourth quarter. Own them at the line of scrimmage. That is the key for LSU. And I quite honestly feel pretty good about it. I have talked in earnest about my concerns with LSU's run game because of those 3 games last year. Make no mistake, LSU's offense was the best in the country last year. That had very little to do with the fact that they could really, really run the ball. Jaden Daniels was a magician with the football. That's what made it go. You could break down in protection. You could have a bad play on first down. You could struggle to run the ball with the running backs, and he'd just make it work. He knew where to go with the ball. They were incredible with the deep ball and the big plays. And if he needed to break free and get you a first down on a 16-yard run, he'd just do that too. Those days are over. Not with Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback. But they've got to transform the way they handle things offensively. And based on Will Campbell's tone and message on Tuesday, I'm going to buy into it. This is the time of year where everyone's optimism is through the roof. And I'm here for it. Love it. Give it to me. But I think they've got to pay it off coming up on Sunday. And that is absolutely going to be the message. And once USC commits to coming down there and making sure they've got things stopped, okay, pop them over the top. You've got plenty of guys that can make those plays. Kyron Lacey can go get you a deep ball. CJ Daniels can go get you a deep ball. I think Kyle Parker's going to play a good bit. Doesn't look great on Chris Hilton. We'll talk about that later. But LSU will be able to hit plays down the field and certainly in the play action game with the tight end involved as well. And everything will open up from that start. But you've got to start there. That was not the case at any point last year. It starts on Sunday. You heard T-Bob yelling and screaming this morning about the latte-sipping surfer boys that LSU's playing on Sunday. I don't know if that's quite the case with some of the guys on USC's defensive front. I don't know how many lattes they drink. I don't know how often they get out on the longboard. But they didn't stop anybody last year. And if they had brought in a whole slew of transfers on the defensive front, I would look at that and maybe suggest, okay, that's a real reason for transformation. They got kind of the same dudes with the new coach. Secondary, I'll give them. They've made that over. They've got a lot of really good players that they brought in the secondary. And that's another reason I don't really want to test that the entirety of the game. Make those guys stand out on an island, pound away right up front. That's where LSU's got to start things. That is absolutely paramount in this ball game coming up on Sunday. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.